got a big time show for you guys coming up on today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. We're going to be diving into the behind-the-scenes details of why the Vikings decided to let go of Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. A lot to do with Kevin O'Connell and the power struggle between him and Kwesi, who really had the final say on who should have been the quarterback last season. A lot of interesting reports, so make sure you guys watch this entire thing. But quickly, I do want to tell you guys about some brand new merch here we have on the channel. We have our Married Into This line coming out at chatsports.com/VikingsVday. We got a sweatshirt. We got this awesome t-shirt as well. Just click the link in the comment section and description of today's show. I think the design is absolutely awesome. And if you guys want to get it for a special somebody for Valentine's Day, Married Into This line is fully out there right now. So chatsports.com/VikingsVday. Link for that will be in the comments section and description in today's show. All right, so the latest with what is going on with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, and I think the Vikings firing Kwesi tells me that he had the final say in the Sam Darnold decision. And you may be saying, well, Patrick, why are you saying that? Because I think the Vikings, they're going to hold somebody accountable for the decision to, let Sam Darnold walk out the door. And I think if maybe Sam Darnold, would have lost in the divisional round of the playoffs, I don't necessarily know if Kwesi would have been fired. But I think the timing of this was so interesting, where it's like, a couple of days after the Seahawks punched their ticket to the Super Bowl, you're going to let go of the GM, that pretty much had the final say of letting Sam Darnold out the door. I think that's pretty much telling me where I originally thought it was Kevin O'Connell getting all the say. I think now it's pretty obvious it was Kwesi who had the final stamp on the Vikings' decision. And also, Daniel Rotman tweeting this out. Now, Daniel Rotman, he was the person that reported originally that the Vikings were trying to send the haul for Drake May. Schefter then reported it a couple weeks later, dating back to before the 2024 NFL Draft. But he just tweeted this out, saying, FYI, there was internal disagreement when drafting J.J. McCarthy and when deciding whether to prioritize him or Sam Darnold this offseason. Kevin O'Connell wanted to go in the other direction. The Vikings were moments away from trading McCarthy to the Raiders this offseason, but to no avail. So clearly, I think Kevin O'Connell wanted Sam Darnold back. Like that report right there of KOC pretty much saying, let's stay with Sam Darnold. We should be willing to move off J.J. McCarthy. But Kwesi didn't want to do that because Kwesi drafted him 10th overall. Why would Kwesi just want to cut bait with J.J. McCarthy and say, you know what, we'll just trade you to the Raiders for like a third-round pick? How would that make him look? I think KOC fully wanted J.J. McCarthy out of the door, or at least just not as QB1. He wanted Sam Darnold back. He wanted Kirk Cousins back originally. He just wanted competent quarterback play because he understands his offense is extremely dynamic. It asks a lot out of the quarterback position, and he clearly thought that J.J. McCarthy wasn't ready. And I think it's obvious that Kevin O'Connell is in control now. With Kwesi out the door, KOC is the one calling all the shots. He is the one that will probably get final say in this organization. I think with the Vikings now pushing off their GM search till after the NFL draft, I think in free agency and in the draft, it's like, hey, Brian Flores, you control defensive personnel. Hey, Kevin O'Connell, you control offensive personnel. And even more backing on the whole J.J. McCarthy saga actually came in from Mike Florio here, saying this tells us Kwesi Adofo-Mensah wanted what they got. J.J. McCarthy with journeyman backups. And that Kevin O'Connell was cautioning against it. He was the guy saying that this isn't going to work. Makes me also wonder this. Did Kevin O'Connell want Aaron Rodgers? Was Diana Rossini right in her reporting? Was Alec Lewis right in his reporting? Where they were saying right before the season or right before Rodgers signed with the Steelers, where it's just like, hey, some people in the Vikings organization really want Aaron Rodgers to be QB1. I bet you KOC did. And it is starting to make sense now. The way Kevin O'Connell talked about J.J. McCarthy all season long is starting to make sense now that we're hearing that, Kevin O'Connell was cautioning against J.J. McCarthy being QB1. He wanted to potentially go out there and get Rodgers. He wanted to go out there and bring back Daniel Jones. Now, this could be just a elite PR play by Kevin O'Connell's team trying to save face. But if all the reporting is true that Kwesi had the final say in J.J. McCarthy being QB1 and them not willing to pay Sam Darnold what he wanted last offseason, then Kevin O'Connell, given all the backhanded comments to J.J. about his mechanics, about how he needs to grow up, like just the way he talked about him this whole season, it is starting to make sense now. But also Mark Wilf, he went live on the Vikings Twitter to give a press conference, and he said Coach O'Connell, We have all the confidence in the world in Coach O'Connell. He's done an excellent job as our head coach, but we need to have the entire organization, he included, everyone is accountable here. And I think KOC, and maybe I'm not saying he went behind Kwesi's back, but I think after the season, he kind of separated himself. He said, you know what? He was one in control of all these of all these decisions. To go out there and the quarterback talk, the Sam Darnold decision, like that was his final stamp of approval. Like, oh, the Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, I didn't have anything to do with that. I didn't have any say. That was all him. He is starting to distance himself, and that's why I think we're eventually here at the point where Kwesi gets fired about a month after the season. Like the whole timing of this situation is pretty interesting. Also, even more drama with the Vikings. Adam Schefter, throughout the season, there was talk about an underlying tension in the Vikings building in league circles. One source said it had been ugly in Minnesota. Then today, the Vikings fired Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. I also remember Alec Lewis put out the report that some Vikings players were looking at what JSN was doing in Seattle and looking at Justin Jefferson, how he wasn't that productive. Like, it probably was a weird feeling where they're probably viewing themselves like, guys, we have an elite team here. And we suck because of our quarterback. And also, Diana Rossini, I think this was just a sarcastic text she got from a league source saying Minnesota should have waited longer. Do they know what they're doing? Nobody really does in the end. People are kind of laughing at the Vikings right now. Alec Lewis tweeting this out, talking to Viking staffers. This was not at all expected to happen at this point in the calendar. Many are blindsided. There had certainly been a lot of tension in recent weeks and months and a lot of murkiness with decision-making process. Makes a lot of sense. But then he quote tweeted it and saying, I should clarify. The move being made is not to surprise to anyone in the building or across the NFL, agents, executive coaches, etc. It's the timing that blindsided. Vikings ownership, though, went through a pretty methodical process the last few weeks, decided it was time. So I don't think it was just one thing that got Kwesi fired. I think it was probably a combination of a bunch. His drafting, if I had to power rank him, is number one, no doubt. 2022, you really only drafted Jalen Naylor. You had 9 other busts in that draft. 2023, it was Jordan Addison. That's it. I mean, you spent a 5th-round pick on Jaren Hall. That was absolutely terrible. 2024, J.J. McCarthy looks like a bust. Dallas Turner looks good. I mean, Will Reichert's a hell of a pick. Drake Rodriguez is a hell of a pick. But again, like really no juice at all in like the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round in his entire tenure as the drafting GM. This guy has like a 16% hit rate in the draft. I think the QB decision obviously played a huge factor. Him spending $350 million on this roster this past season that only have 9 wins, that played a factor. Some boneheaded extensions, like Josh Oliver getting an extension, Josh Metellus potentially, and his analytical approach. And connects me to this. Sam Monson of PFF tweeted this out. Saying my biggest takeaway from Kwesi's time in charge is how little the analytics GM tenure seemed to look anything like how you would think an analytics GM would do things. They took big swings in the draft, didn't draft in bulk, spent big on things like blocking tight ends. Like, yeah, the whole analytical approach Kwesi took, it did not work out, and it didn't really feel analytical. Like, him trading up for Dallas Turner, that kind of felt old school almost, where it's like an old school scouting GM was like, oh, Dallas Turner's my guy. We need to go get him no matter what. I don't really think an analytical guy would do that, where I feel like Kwesi would be more of like, hey, let's throw a bunch of darts at the board. Hopefully a lot of them end up hitting. So it was just a whole bunch of nonsense in his process. And, it all comes down to, him getting fired. And now it comes down to Kevin O'Connell being the man in charge. I think this is a huge year for KOC. We can all call it like it is. This is massive for Kevin O'Connell. Do you trust him? Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. You guys, some of your thoughts down below in the comment section. Now, I'll have a full video coming out on J.J. McCarthy and what this really means for him, but I'm at the point right now, I would be shocked if he's quarterback 1 for this team next season. I think it's over. I think clearly the Minnesota Vikings, it's done. I think they would rather be aggressive and trade a 2nd-round pick for Mac Jones and let J.J. McCarthy be QB1 next season. It's sad. I don't think they did him any favors, but also I think KOC, like if we just trust in the idea that KOC knows what he's doing at the quarterback position, he clearly doesn't like J.J. McCarthy. He knows more about the QB position than I'll ever know in my life. So if we just trust him on that, I think we can just chalk up, J.J. McCarthy just not playing again for the Vikings. I think he's going to rather go out there and now I think Malik Willis could potentially be on the table. What if they get super aggressive? What if they give 2 for 50 for Malik Willis and be like, hey, J.J., you're sitting on the bench this year, or we'll trade you to another team? Maybe they do try to go all out and get like a Baker or Joe Burrow. Obviously, if those guys are on the table, I would expect them to do that, but I think it's more likely than not that J.J. McCarthy is not the quarterback next season. So what is also concerning is the Vikings do not have technically a GM. Rob is calling the shots. Rob Brzezinski. He's the cap guy, and he's got a lot of decisions to make. Cut candidates on this team. Restructuring contracts. Who's going to be QB1? Free agency. The draft. These are all decisions that the Vikings will have to make, and then you're starting your GM search. So Rob Brzezinski, he's going to be calling the shots. Who is he? He's got 33 seasons in the NFL. Very well respected, which I do like. 27 with the Vikings. He's the VP of football for Minnesota since 2001. He is in charge of the salary cap management, and he's negotiated over $1 billion worth of contracts. Clearly well respected, clearly knows what he's doing. He knows how to manipulate the cap. Very, very smart guy, but can he handle everything we were just saying? Cut candidates, who will be QB1? Like, obviously, KOC will have a big say. It's just an interesting time right now. So, overall, I fully agree with the decision to fire Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, but the process is concerning here. That's the part where I'm just like, God, this team feels dysfunctional for the first time in a very long time. A year ago, we're playing for the #1 seed. We're thinking we got our GM, we got our head coach, we got our quarterback. And now where are we? We don't have a quarterback. We don't have a GM. We're $50 million in the hole. We have the 18th pick in the draft. On paper, it's not looking pretty. But you still have a lot of good players. You still got a Darisaw, a Jefferson, a Dallas Turner. You got 2 elite coaches, 2 very, very elite coaches, which both of them I still believe in. Overall, it's time to go. I just wish the Vikings would have done this maybe right after the season instead of waiting a month after. Now we're waiting for the GM search after the draft. Don't understand that whatsoever. So, but also there will be no more changes. Mark Wilf said that when he was talking to the media, saying there will be no further personnel moves at this time. So this is the last one. And it's going to be an interesting Vikings offseason. If you guys are excited for the future here in Minnesota, if you are, hit that thumbs up icon. If you're not, comment why down below. If you're maybe a little more negative, comment your thoughts down below. But I do appreciate everybody for tuning in. Lots of content coming out this weekend. Appreciate all of you guys for taking time out of your day to watch today's show. See you guys next time. Let's go Vikes.